This conference will now be recorded.
This is the console, and we're doing the inter-region latency testing. And let's go ahead and find where that is. So you click on the main menu, you go down to networking, and select here the last option under networking, inter-region latency. And remember that we're testing resources going from Melbourne to our Phoenix area. So in order to find that, you can either click here. Actually, it's better to do it in the top row. So I find Phoenix right here. And then I search for Melbourne. And as you can see, here it is right here. So it's 181 milliseconds. And it will give you all the results for every single region, connecting either to Phoenix in this case. Right here, you can see the latency to Amsterdam. This is Brazil. And here's Melbourne, which is the one that we want. And the same thing for Melbourne. Here you can see the sample was to going to Sydney. So Sydney should be around here. So you find it in Sydney, and then you find Melbourne. And it should be right here, and it makes sense. It's going within the same country, 13 milliseconds. But when you're going from Phoenix to Melbourne, then it's a little bit longer, the distance. So it's 181 milliseconds. So let's see if that's real. What I did is create resources in both regions, and we can view these resources with the network visualizer. Let me change the, this is the correct compartment, the training compartment. And you should see the Melbourne going to Phoenix. If I change this to Phoenix, then you will see that from Phoenix, we're going to Melbourne. And that connection is already established. I already created the routes. And as you can see in Phoenix, I have another VCN that is completely isolated, but this is the one that we care about, Phoenix VCN, going all the way to Melbourne. So I created 2 compute instances. Let's go ahead and take a look. 1 in each region. So I'm going to ping from Melbourne into the private IP address of my Phoenix compute instance. So let's go ahead and copy this. So it's 172.29.0.62. And the compute instance in Melbourne, I actually need the public IP address of it. So I can SSH into it. Let's open this. Brand new connection. And now, I don't know if you remember the IP address of my San Jose one, but not San Jose, but Phoenix. And it's 172.29.0.62. And the reason why we're doing this is so we can verify that those numbers are accurate. And you can see it's very close, within 5 milliseconds of it at 176. So again, that's for the numbers that you get from the inter-region latency. They represent the overall backbone infrastructure. They're not specific to your own account, your own tenancy. So here it is, 180. That's the published ones, but when you actually test them, it's a little bit better on your own environment. So this concludes the lab. Thank you very much. Hello, and welcome to Oracle University. My name is Sergio Castro. Today we're seeing Network Visualizer. We're doing a hands-on lab, And because this is a lab, this is the only deck that I have. Let's go ahead and get our hands dirty. Here is the console, the OCI console. And as you can see, I'm in the US East Ashburn. And in order to find the network visualizer, you click here on the main menu, go to networking, and immediately right there, one of the options, the main options, the third one is the network visualizer. If you click on it, if you were previously on a previous session on a particular compartment, it's going to open the visualizer for that compartment itself. Notice how we have the include child compartments, and I did in the checkbox. If the checkbox is going to include not only this resource that I have on my main compartment, but also other resource that I have in the child compartment. So let's go ahead and click on that. And it's going to take a little while, but it's going to leave that network that we saw, plus the ones that I have in other compartments. And I believe I only have resources in a compartment called interconnect. And as you can see, if you recall from the lecture, the orange circles represents DRG, dynamic routing gateways. I have 2 dynamic routing gateways and 3 virtual flat networks. One of the virtual flat networks has connections to 2 of the DRGs. And this DRG has 3 remote peering connections going to other regions. This is Phoenix, this is London, and this is Amsterdam. And I also have a virtual circuit. This DRG has a VPN connection. And if you had a greater network layout, more networks, more VCNs, and you were looking for a particular resource, actually here we can do it here. If I start typing, for example, CPE, it will list all the CPEs that you have, so you can go ahead and select, and it's going to zoom in into the particular resource that you click on it, and you can see details on it. You can go ahead and further take a deep dive. You can also go ahead and refresh, and the refresh will basically reload everything from the start. So it's basically bringing the compartment, all the resources in that compartment plus the child resources, because I'm doing a refresh. So this was hard coded. I can go ahead and uncheck it right now, but I don't want to do that. And here it is. So what I want to highlight right now is that if you click on a particular resource, you can immediately take a deeper dive into the resource belonging to this particular virtual flat network. Here I can go ahead and see the VCN itself. I can go ahead and see the route table so let's go ahead and do that. And it opened another tab. So you still have your visualizer on the first tab, on the main tab. And then the second tab, it brings the resources. So as you can see, I have route tables going to, this is going to the internet gateway. And this is going to, remember those remote peering connections? It's going to those 3 remote peering connections. This one doesn't have a description. This one's going to London, and I call this is the one. So that might be one of, I don't recall why I name it this way. So it is very important that you put something that is descriptive. At least I know that this is the one going to London. And if I want to go back, I just go back into my second tab, and this will remain open unless I close it myself. What I want to highlight here is that if you keep scrolling down, you can go ahead and open a subnet map. So because I was in that particular virtual flat network, now I'm taking a deep dive into the VCN itself from the visualizer perspective. I'm going to see the subnets in that VCN. And as you can see, I have 2 subnets, one that I call the lone subnet. So it was supposed to be the one and only subnet in this VCN. I have a second one, and I call it delete me. So because the whole purpose is that this is the one that is going to be the lone subnet. But what I want to show you now is that this one, you can zoom in with your mouse. This one, zoom in and zoom out. This one is going to the service gateway. And if I click on it, the route to the service gateway is going to be highlighted, and it gives you details, all IAT services in Oracle Service Network. So it's not only going to object storage, but to all the services that the Oracle Service Network presents. And remember the persistent button here? I don't have it on. So if I go into this other subnet, this route is going to not be highlighted anymore. Now I'm only seeing the routes from this subnet, and one of it is going to the internet gateway, remember, and the other route is going to the dynamic routing gateway, the DRG. So if I, let me go back to the subnet, and if I click on the persist routing information, and now if I go to the second subnet, the route will remain highlighted. So this is what this button does. So go ahead and play uh, with your own resources. And this concludes the lab. I think it was helpful, and it will serve as an introduction to your Oracle Cloud Infrastructure Virtual Cloud Network resources from the visualizer perspective. Hello, welcome to this lecture on BCN flow logs. This is actually a demo. Flow logs is a subset of a bigger topic called observability and management. So this is a preview of what you are going to be seeing on that topic. Logs is part of it. When you have, or you want to troubleshoot, the traffic going into your virtual cloud network, you can use flow logs. So each instance in a virtual cloud network has one or more VNICs, virtual network interface cards. And the virtual cloud network service utilizes security rules, meaning security lists or network security groups, to determine what traffic is allowed through a given VNIC. So to help troubleshoot this traffic coming in and out of the VNICs, you can set up the VCN flow logs. So flow logs record details about traffic that has been accepted or rejected based on these security rules for your VCN. So let's go ahead and take a look, the bigger picture. So I'm going to go into the console. And as you can see, as I was explaining, under the main menu, you have observability and management. And we will cover all of these topics, or the key ones for security. Right now, this is a preview on logs and log groups, which is the service that you launch for VCN flow logs. Basically, here I have the login preview. And as you can see on the service logs, VCN flow logs is just one of them. This is the complete list of the service logs. And you can have, for networking, you can have VCN flow logs, load balancers, and there's a couple of other services coming or that are being considered for future use. So managing your logs, including the VCN logs, you need to work with logs and log groups. So let's go ahead and take a look at the console. So there's two ways of enabling the VCN flow logs on your virtual cloud network. One of them is going here to the logs and enable the service log. Then you select your resources. So from the service logs, you go and scroll all the way down to virtual cloud network, and you will see that is the subnet of the virtual cloud network, because the compute instance, the VNIC and the compute instance, ties to the subnet that belongs to the virtual cloud network. So this is what we're selecting. Now, what type of resource? In this compartment, I have, I believe, 2 VCNs and several subnets. So in this case, I'm going to be selecting, I do have a fast connect going to on-premise. So I'm going to select this one. And then the log category. Remember that we need to select, in this case for VCN, we have flow logs. And then the log name, I'm going to call this ICMP. Why? Because I'm going to ping resources to see the result of enabling these flow logs. Each log works together with log groups. And here it is. This is the one. Log groups are logical containers for organizing logs. logs must always be inside a log group. So that's why we're entering a log group. But in this case, you'll see that I don't have a log group created. So let's go ahead and create a new one. I'm going to call this also ICMP. And that's it. So now I have my log group, and this is the logging retention. So I'm going to retain this for 2 months, a little bit beyond the recommended. And then now I can enable my log. And it's going to take a while. So while this is being provisioned, let me go and show you how else you can launch your log and log group. So you go into networking, virtual cloud networks, and then you will see that I have a couple here. I have 3 virtual cloud networks. This one is the one that is currently attached to the dynamic routing gateway that has the fast connect to on-premises. And that's the one that we utilize to enable logging. And here, if I click on logs, you can see that this one already provisioned. This is the one that we just created over the observability and management path. And from here, you can view the logs that we already created, and you can use this path for creating additional logs. For example, you can go ahead and go into the log group. Here you can edit the log, or you can disable it. You can also disable it on this button right here. However, if you want to create additional logs, you can take advantage of this log group ICMP, which is the name that I gave it, and then it will take you back to observability and management, and then you can go ahead and create a new log, enable a service log. So let's go ahead and take a look at the service log that we created and see what has it done since we created it. So immediately you can see that these are some events that have been happening to that compute instance during the last 5 minutes. And these are the events. So if you click on it, you can see that there are some rejects going on for port 443, and it's TCP. And then for further troubleshooting, you can see before and after what was there. So before and after. So here it is. This is the before. And then you can expand it. Now you can get very interesting insights on information that you get from the logs. So here you can go and visualize and create your stack bar. And my preference is pi. So as you can see, it's 100%. I don't have much activity, but if I can go ahead and select and group my information by, and I'm going to select source port. No, not the port, but the data protocol name. So what traffic is going through my instance? And you can see that there's some ICMP going on, and UDP and TCP. Now let's log in into a compute instance. So I'm going to open one of my compute instances. I need to retrieve the IP address. So this is the one. I'm going to select the private IP. I know it's 10.20.30.40, but this is the one that I want to log into. And let me bring my putty. And going to ping. This is what I have at the other end of the fast connect. And you can see it's really fast because it's 1.2 milliseconds. So it is pinging, and within 5 minutes, that ping information should be, if I leave it running, should be greater than the TCP and UDP. Pi. So I'm going to pause the video shortly so we can give it some time so it continues pinging, and I'll come back in like about 2 or 3 minutes. Hello, we're back. We actually paused the recording for a little bit more than 5 minutes. We went over an hour, but we're back, and we are going to see how our ports are behaving with logging analytics. So here you can see that these are the events that happened during the last hour. So let's go ahead and change this because it's been more than an hour. I'm going to put the last 3 hours. And now I want to visualize this in my Pi. And before we were at 29% ICMP. So as you can see, this is gaining ground. Let's remember that in order for me to ping, I need to SSH into the instance, and that's port 22. So that's been active along with other activity. If we go back into the logs, you'll see that I have, in fact, more TCP activity than I do ICMP. This is an ICMP packet right here, so I can go ahead and expand it. And this one is actually, I have a packet going also from 10.20.30.10. Besides that 40, I also have 10. And so you can get a lot of information from it. And of course, this is only using the tools within BCN flow logs. Logs are part of a larger family that we call observability and management. And you can see logging analytics, so you can get more insights and distribute your logs greater and get more information, not only from BCN flow logs, but also from other resources. So this is a topic that we will cover in greater detail further ahead. Now, the BCN flow logs, let me go back to, want to show you something regarding the BCN flow. You see this service connector right here? So with it, you can go ahead and create connections to other resources that will allow you to retrieve and order your information, not only with the BCN flow logs or observability and management logging analytics, but also with Oracle Management Cloud. You can use Splunk. And basically how it works is we offered a structured JSON format that will power your data for data interchange. And this will allow you to easily integrate your current logs with other platforms. So this completes this lecture. Thank you very much. Bye. Hello, and welcome back. My name is Richard Castro with Oracle University, and this is a demonstration of the Network Path Analyzer. So we're going to log in into my tenancy and see how is it that we can leverage this excellent tool. So the first thing that I'm going to do is showcase the amount of virtual cloud networks that I have in my tenancy. As you can see, I have several of them, and one of them even has IPv6, but I really want to highlight how they are interconnected with each other. As you can see, this is a complex configuration. I have a hub and spoke network, several local peering gateways, 2 dynamic routing gateways, and 1 fast connect link. So let me highlight my fast connect link. I'm going to bring this to make it bigger. So as you can see, this address, these are the port addresses of my network vendor that is connecting me to on-premises. So this is my BGP address. But if I really want to highlight how is it that I'm connecting to on-premises, I need to go ahead and visualize the routes. And if I make this bigger, you will see that from my BCN 10.0.0.0/24, I'm going to on-premises, we have the 192.168.0.0/16. So this is the network visualizer. Now, if I show you my compute instances, you will see that I have 1 per VCN. So these are the compute instances, and I'm going to be logging in to this one. This is the public IP address, and here it is. I already SSH into it. And here, if I do an up arrow, I can go ahead and ping my compute instance that I have there, 168.199.57. There we go. So I can go ahead and ping that. And as you can see, Fast Connect is really, really fast. I'm in my Ashburn region, connecting to on-premises in the same region, in the close vicinity. So I can ping to it. So now I'm going to interrupt this. We also have a website on that server. So it's a web server actually, and all it does is a hello world message. So what I'm going to do to demonstrate the network path analyzer is I'm going to first interrupt the path that takes me there, that means the route, and then the second demo is to interrupt the security list. So I will cut access to port 80. So the first thing that I'll do is remove the route that takes me to my web server. So to do that, we can go ahead and find the network path analyzer under networking, under the network command center, the network path analyzer. That's how you get there. But let's go ahead and modify the routes on my hub VCN. So here, my route table. So this is the one that I'm going to be editing, and I'm actually going to remove it. So remove my connectivity, my route to that destination. So now if I come here, I should not be able to do my curl anymore. There's no route to it. So now I'm going to go ahead and run my network path analyzer. So I'm going to go ahead and create a path analysis. I'm going to call it demo one. Demo one. The protocol that I'm going to be using is TCP. This is my correct compartment. So my source IP address is 10.0.0.150. That's the private IP address of my compute instance right here. And now my destination is 192.168.199. And I forgot the other one, but I'll let you know in a minute. So it's 57.57. And my destination port is 80. Now I'm going to run this bidirectional, and then I'm going to go ahead and hit the run analysis. And right now it's in the process of completing. So I'm going to pause the recording and come back when it does. I am back. And as you can see, the path came with a result, and it's unreachable. And it has more information, so let's go ahead and take a look. Now, it's trying to go over the internet gateway. This is a quick question for professional level. So even for associate, let me know why. Why do you think, or think about it and write it down, why do you think it's trying to go out over the internet gateway? Remember that the less specific route takes preference, and we used to have one that goes 192.168.0.0/16 over the dynamic routing gateway. That path is no longer there, so therefore it's trying to utilize the quad 0 over the internet. However, this is a non-routable IP address, therefore it cannot reach it. So the outcome of the network path analyzer is that this route is unreachable. So let's go ahead and take a look and see what else do we have. I can go ahead and view the diagram information, and here, this is allowed over on the security list. However, there's no path that takes me there. This is denied because it's a non-routable IP address. So this will let me know, oh, I cannot get to my intended destination because I don't have a route that takes me there. So now what I'm going to do is going to go ahead and add back that same address on my route table and then run the analysis again. So I'm going to pause the recording and come back when I introduce this back to the route table. So I'll be back in a minute. There, I added this route back into my route table. So now I should be able to run the same command again. And there we go. That's the hello world. So let's go ahead and do a network path analyzer again. Now this time is going to be successful. So I'm going to call this demo 2. Source 10.0.0.150. That's my source address. Now my destination is 192.168.0.0. No, that's the CIDR block. So it's 199.57. And my destination port is port 80. 80. Bidirectional again and run the analysis. And it's in the process of completing. So again, I'm going to pause the recording and come back when it actually completes. Hello again. Now this completed, and you can see it's providing me with much more information. 3 hops. It's going from the VCN through the dynamic routing gateway. That's hop 2, going out and going to Fast Connect and reaching my on-premises compute instance that I have there. And that's going from the VCN to on-premises. Now going back, the return path is from on-premises through my on-prem Fast Connect from on-premises to OCI, coming into dynamic routing gateway, and going out of the dynamic routing gateway into the VCN that is attached to that dynamic routing gateway. So this is a successful pattern. This is how it should look. Now we are going to go ahead and remove the port 80 permission from the security list and see what happens. So let's go ahead and do that. So I'm going to go into networking, virtual cloud networks, find my VCN, my hub VCN, and this is my security list. I'm using my default one. And here you can see that I have several rules, and port 80 is not one of them. So how is it that I can reach if I don't have my remote web server? This is a trick question again. Remember that we have an egress rule, and on the egress rule, I do have port 80 here. So I'm going out from my VCN, and this compute instance is in my VCN right here. And I'm going all the way to retrieving the information that I have on that web server. So I'm going to go ahead and remove this permission, and it's out. So now I'm going to go ahead and connect and try this again. And this time it should not work again. So it's not working. I removed the permission. The stateful permissions has been removed. So let's go ahead and run a path analysis again. And this is demo 3. Source 10.0.0.150. Now destination 192.168.0.0 again is 199.57. My destination port is port 80. And run the analysis bidirectionally again. And it's in the process of completing. This takes like 2 minutes. So I'm going to pause the recording and come back again. And we're back. So here it is. We're back. So as you can see, unreachable. Because it's unreachable, there's no return path analysis, but now I can go ahead and see the diagram permission, and it didn't find a route security status denied. So traffic, I can go ahead. It didn't go all the way for the route because there could be multiple hops, but the main issue here is that the security is denied. And check this, it's letting us know where the specific detail is. Remember that when you create a virtual cloud network, it automatically creates a security list for you with 3 rules and on the ingress side and 1 egress rule, which is it's allowing everything for IPv4. So it is the quad 0 IPv4. I modified that, as you can see, as you saw when I was on my security list, and here it is, my egress. I modified that. It's allowing out protocols, but for IPv6. For IPv4, I am being very specific for port 22, port 80 for ICMP, and I had one for port 80, which is the one that I removed. So this completes this demonstration. Remember that we do have the feature for asking the instructor a question. If you have one, reach out to us and we will gladly address any question. Thank you very much. Bye.